Hey folks, Jim Dunaway from The Next Round. It's time to look back and enjoy a week of Southeastern Conference football as we talk about what we saw in the field. And as always, we're excited to be partnered with our friends at Cowin Equipment. And they'd like to partner up with your company for all your heavy equipment needs. Visit everyone over at Cowin on their website at cowin.com to find out more about how you can save with your heavy equipment solution, from rental and new equipment sales to superior service and parts. It's all right there with our friends at Cowin Equipment. Visit cowin.com. That's cowin.com. Now let's check out the action.
For a lot of people, the best of the weekend was Mississippi State's field goal kicker missing the kick that would have tied the game.
Which field goal kicker?
Right? Well, I mean, both of them, they missed 3 kicks in that
I can't believe you're going to make this your worst.
No, I'm gonna make this my worst of the weekend.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm going to make this my worst of the weekend.
Okay.
The Mississippi State guy, he missed 3 kicks. 2 different guys missed 3 kicks. So at the end of the game, the Arkansas kicker is out consoling the Mississippi State kicker, walking him off the field.
Right.
You know, hey man, don't worry about it. You know,
Did he miss the wrong? Did he go to the wrong locker room?
Well, I'm just saying he's out there, man. We have a tough job. What we do here is not easy. And then, you've got the opposing guy consoling the guy who missed the kick, kicker on kicker.
Yeah.
Hey, nobody understands except us. Then you get into post game. You get into the post-game locker room.
I like this. I don't know why you dislike this so much.
And then Mike Leach says this, the other team consoling your kicker.
Well,
meanwhile, your coach throwing the entire kicking room under the bus. Here's Mike Leach.
What are you seeing or hearing or thinking about special teams right now?
Well, I think that there's an open tryout, and you can announce this. There's an open tryout on our campus for kickers. Anybody that wants to kick or walk on and kick at Mississippi State, we'll hold a tryout anytime you can get over there to our building, providing you're cleared by the NC2A.
Anytime you get over there to our building.
Do you guys not remember him doing this 2007?
I do.
He's done this before.
Yeah, it's not the first time he's done this.
And a kicker actually walked on, basically came out of the stands, got a tryout, and was kicking the next week.
I just don't understand anyway why you're so upset about this. The kicker cost them the game.
No, he didn't. The kicker didn't cost him the
Jim,
game.
he missed a 23-yarder.
You know what cost him the game? That guy didn't coach well enough to score a point in the first quarter that by the end of the game, you're having to kick a field goal to try to tie it against Arkansas. If that guy calls better plays, if he has
his
anything...
quarterback threw for 411 yards.
It's a collective effort, but the bottom line is...
I'm so smart that here's my play sheet that I'm calling from right here.
And how many yards
right?
of total offense did that play sheet get?
Yeah, well, he got plenty. Not enough points, though. Got plenty of yards, not enough points. We get judged by the scoreboard where I play. I don't know about the Dolphins, but where I play, we're judged by the scoreboard, and we get all the way.
You just got denimed.
I can't believe I'm taking this from a guy wearing a Canadian tuxedo.
I just don't believe that legitimate championship coaches say things like that.
He's not a championship coach.
Yeah,
he's never
not.
won one. How is it that Alabama can hire 2 NFL head coaches to coach offensive line and offense, and they've regressed this much? That is baffling to me.
It's 2 former NFL coaches that were both fired.
They were both fired, but Lance, you hear what I'm saying? They're good coaches to get to that point, right?
Well, I mean, Nick Saban typically does a pretty good job on bringing in coaches.
Yeah, but I mean, you never thought Bill O'Brien was a bad coach.
No.
Was he a bad head coach in the NFL? He had some success at Houston. He was a bad general manager in the NFL.
Well, look, and I think we all realized this offense wasn't going to be as good as last year's offense. It's one of the best offenses we've seen in the history of college football. You knew it would take steps back. You didn't realize it would look like it looks.
I mean, think of this. Doug Marrone was good enough at Syracuse that he got an NFL job out of it. That's Syracuse. So Doug Marrone's obviously a good football coach. He wouldn't have been the head coach at Syracuse or the Jags if not. And did he not take the Jags to the deep in the playoffs? Am I wrong about
the
that?
AFC Championship game.
Right? Okay, this is a guy that,
had a fourth quarter lead against Tom Brady and the Patriots to go to a Super Bowl.
In the AFC Championship game. So these are not bad football coaches. You just say, they got fired. Well, they did get fired. But they obviously had some success. How have these two areas regressed this much under these guys?
And keep in mind, Chris Owens played a lot of center in his time.
Yeah,
wasn't like it was his first time on the rodeo.
Yeah. I don't get how they can be this bad at offensive line and how the play calling can just be so scattered and just really have no rhythm at all to it.
Well, that's what we talked about Saturday in the breakout. is I don't know if you're spoiled with play calling from Sark and Lane Kiffin and Brian Dable, but there seemed to be, A connected to B connected to C in play calling. And, I don't know if it's offensive line problems. People keep going back to the receivers aren't as open as they used to be. Well, my goodness, the receivers seem to be open enough. You got to have time for some of these things to develop. And the run game. You got to be able to run. Some of that, though, was LSU played out above their skis right there. They were out over their skis. They were out there, and they laid it on the line. Hats off to Ed Orgeron having that team motivated and ready to play.
It's just weird, though, when you watched LSU last week against Ole Miss and just how flat they were, and there was no offense to speak of. And now we're talking about a 4-5 LSU team that had multiple shots there at the end of the game. A first and goal from the 8.
Yep.
Couldn't get in.
Yep.
And then they had that final play from the 30, and just watching that game, the way the night had gone, I had a feeling you were going to get a PI or somehow they were going to come down with that 30-yard reception.
So now I don't know what it is about the air in the visiting post-game room, but it makes Ed Orgeron high as a kite. I mean, this guy, this guy's like he's got Coachella brain. I mean, this guy. Listen to what he says afterwards.
Compliment our team for how hard they played. I truly thought we were a better team tonight. We just came up a couple plays short. Wish we would have had a better plan on offense, especially in the second half. We had opportunities to score. We didn't. I got to take that responsibility. I just wish that we could have put our guys in better positions to win.
We were the better team, he said.
I mean, if you watch that game, like if you woke up and you had been asleep for 30 years and you just watched that game, I really couldn't tell you who the better team was.
Yeah.
The Vegas odds are like Georgia is going to win this thing for sure. I think it's like 1-3 now that Georgia wins the national championship, which is crazy at this point in the season. But if it wasn't Georgia, because that program is so jinxed, like I don't see anybody being able to beat Georgia right now. I don't know about you guys.
Oh, I would take the field right now for a steak.
Oh, I'll take Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take the field. I'll get everybody else.
You get everyone.
I got
else.
129
you get all these
teams.
quality
That's right.
teams we've
Everyone of
seen.
them. Yeah.
I mean, Georgia
Everyone
does
of them.
nothing. They consistently kick people in the skulls every week.
Theory of large numbers is they're going to have a weekend like Alabama just had at some point.
Maybe, but when it's not going to be in the regular season. Now, is it going to be in the SEC championship game? They can have that.
That's right.
And they're still fine.
Oh, you're right. If they have one of those days before December 31st, they're fine. They're still in.
They're completely fine. The only thing that worries me about Georgia is you bring in JT Daniels now. Some people get excited about that. I thought Stetson looked better than JT. I don't know about you guys.
He looked like Stetson Bennett has looked.
But now do you get to the point where you're going to be rotating these quarterbacks and trying to figure out who the guy is? If you're Kirby, just stick with what's working.
It was a struggle offensively, and I do think that Mike Bobo had found a lot of positive things for Auburn's offense the last two games, and then they seemed like they were ready. It was almost, especially the play where Bo fumbled, I was asking about in the scoop and score, it was like they knew which play was coming at that point. They had it so well covered, and they were just so well coached. Brian Harsin talks about just the struggle to find any offense Saturday in College Station.
For us, we got to find a way to score. After a while, there's going to be some point, there's going to be some momentum. Someone's going to get a touchdown. Someone's going to create more points. And our defense is doing some really good things on third downs and in the red zone tonight. And we just, we got to work as a team together. We got to create points from an offensive standpoint to keep ourselves in the game.
And when you've got no points, no offense moving at all, I thought the defense played really, really good, and especially just holding them to field goals or miss field goals early on. I thought Derek Mason's side of the ball did their part in the game.
Well, look, they got off the field on third downs. A&M was 3 of 13 on third downs. Now, A&M did effectively run the football, and I said all last week, and look, this is not rocket science, but whoever outrushed the other team was going to win this game, and it really wasn't close, 217 to 73. You start to look at this, and Brian Harsin's done a really good job this year. But we talked about the offensive line's average. Bo Nix has been better than advertised. The receivers aren't great. Bigsby hasn't for whatever reason, been the Bigsby we thought. You know, sooner or later against really good defenses, it's going to catch up, and you start to look at what remains on this schedule. Again, you've got a number 20 in total defense, Mississippi State coming up this weekend. You go to South Carolina. I don't know what you get there based on what I saw this past weekend. The last time Bo was up there, though, obviously that was not a good game for Bo Nix against South Carolina. Then you end with Alabama. I mean, how do you guys think this thing
I don't know.
ends down the stretch?
They could be 0-3. They could be 3-0.
I can't figure it out.
Because you know what they're doing? They're playing three teams that not only can I not get a feel for Auburn, I can't get a feel for any of those three teams.
Right.
Mississippi State's different every week. South Carolina has some good highs and some really bad lows. And I can't figure this Alabama team out either. So I really have no earthly idea.
I could see if South Carolina played a perfect 60 minutes, they win the game. Auburn should win that game. Mississippi State, if they play like the good Mississippi State could win the game by double digits.
They absolutely could.
Same for Alabama.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if Auburn plays good, Mississippi State or Alabama doesn't play well, Auburn can win those games. So I'm with you guys.
But right now, this moment in time, I think Auburn's exactly where most people thought Auburn would be. I think they've won the game.
They thought they would get there like they got here, if that makes any sense.
No, I think it is felt better than people thought it was going to be in the summer. But I think they've won every game that people thought they could or would win, and they've lost to Penn State. They've lost to – now, the Georgia State game looked weird. They lost to Texas A&M, and who was the third loss? Georgia. Those are the three games you thought they'd lose.
What you're saying is if I'd have told Auburn fans before the season you're 6-3 with losses at Penn State, at Texas A&M, and at home to Georgia, I could have seen that.
Yeah, and in November they're all top 15 teams.
That's right, because in the preseason, A&M you thought was going to be a top 5 team.
That's right.
Or a top 16.
And you're telling me we won at LSU?
That's right.
And we beat Ole Miss?
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think you would have taken that as an Auburn fan, but you got baited into thinking this team had turned the corner. And then they regress a lot Saturday. Yeah. You mentioned
you thought they would beat Arkansas back in the summer, but what Arkansas turned into when they beat the Texas,
it all changed.
Then you're like, oh, and you went at Arkansas, ranked top 10 team at the time.
Yeah, I do think Derek Mason's defense played well, but in the SEC, if you get outrushed 217-73, you're not going to win many games.
There's a lot of areas you can go if you think Dan Mullen should be out as coach at Florida. Obviously, you can make a case that he was in the SEC championship game last year. You don't pull the plug. But little things can add up. One little thing in the postgame that bothered me a little bit after the South Carolina loss was he was asked by a reporter, hey, by the way, this is the second week you didn't join some of your team in singing the alma mater with the band after the game. What do you think Dan Mullen said?
Oh, it started that way. I don't know what he said the rest of it.
Don't like singing if we haven't won. I don't know.
That would have been an answer I'd have been okay with.
We're on the road right now, so that's on me. I'll be honest with you, didn't even know we had our band here today with that. So we'll sing with the band next week in the swamp.
I didn't know we brought the band.
Whoa! Wait a minute.
He said, I didn't know we brought the band. I didn't know we brought the band.
So the rest of his team went over there and sang the alma mater, but Dan Mullen was the one guy that didn't know the band was there.
You guys have had that head cold, and you take the cold medicine, and you're kind of out of it, like fever dream during the day, and you don't know what's going on. That's the way he coached. Is it possible that he was just completely out of it for an entire 4 or 5 hours?
They did have a legitimate flu thing going around, the 20 to 30 players throughout the week. But I mean,
that was a subtle excuse, by the way.
When you're out there pregame,
you don't know the band's there.
Who the hell's playing your fight song?
I know.
You're on the road.
Right.
Yeah, I don't believe that one.
You're gonna look up. You're gonna look up and see the tuba, right?
I know the band was there. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I also walking off at the half because I flipped over Bama and LSU, and I'm like at halftime. I'm like I gotta hear what I've been watching it, but I just want to see kind of get a feel for the game.
Yeah, you didn't need to flip that game on for the second half because it was already over.
No, I didn't. But walking off at halftime, Alyssa Lang asked him if he's going to make any adjustments. You know what his answer was? No.
Yeah.
No. Not gonna make any adjustments. So you're down 2 touchdowns at the half to South Carolina.